Today we found out Stuart was in his Teeny Tiny Tony Horten's house, but he was searching in there, and suddenly it was surrounded by diggers and workmen who were coming to demolish the house. So Stuart is inside a house that's being demolished. Okay, here we go. Stuart hurtled down the stairs just as sunlight flooded through the newly uncovered stained glass of the front door, illuminating the jaunty hat and wand and the letters TTTH. The living room was still in darkness, and as he tried to hurry, he found himself kicking a footstool halfway across the room. The crash sounded enormous, but by now there seemed to be crashes coming from all sides of the house. He carried on groping his way towards the kitchen, but before he got there he heard a different sort of noise, quieter but distinct. It was the sound of the back door being opened. "Here, it's not locked," said a man's voice, surprised. Stuart stood paralysed. If he was caught, he'd get into trouble. The builders might even tell the police, but they'd definitely tell his parents. If his mum and dad found out that he'd been trespassing on condemned property at 7 in the morning, then they wouldn't trust him to go off by himself at all. And then that would be that. The whole quest smashed, the trail frozen. The threepences would rust unused, while somewhere in Beaton, great Uncle Tony's workshop would remain forever undiscovered. Stuart could hear footsteps crossing the kitchen. Was there anywhere he could hide? He looked around frantically, squinting in the darkness. Except that it wasn't darkness any longer. Another of the boards covering the front window was at that very moment being wrenched free, and an arrow of light shot across the room, bouncing off the framed picture that he'd looked at earlier. And all of a sudden, he knew where he could go. He scurried over to the fireplace, ducked down, and crawled into it. Now, children, so he's gone over to the old chimney breast, and he's crawled in, and he's got his body inside the chimney breast. He scurried over to the fireplace, ducked down, and crawled into it. It was larger than it looked. He could feel the draught stirring the air around him, and he realised that if he stood up at the back with his head and body actually up the chimney, then only his legs below the knee would be seen from the room, and since his jeans and trainers were black, he'd be near invisible. He got in as far as he could, and then stood upright. With a painful thud, his head hit something hard. "Start in the upstairs bathroom," said the voice coming along the passageway. "Get the bath out and then strip the pipe in. It's all copper." Stuart ducked back down again, clutching his skull. He could already feel a lump pushing up under his fingers. He half rose again, extended the other arm, and felt around inside the chimney. He could feel the corners of a metal box. He gave it a shove, but it didn't move. One side of it seemed to be fixed to the brickwork. He stood up as much as he was able, his head crooked awkwardly to one side. The clump of boots approached the fireplace. "Any of the furnishings worth anything?" asked a second voice. "A dealer came round and said he had a client for the big items. The rest is just rubbish." The boots retreated again, and in a few moments Stuart heard the drumbeat of footsteps going up the stairs. In the living room all was momentarily quiet. He took his chance. He crawled out from the fireplace and was about to make a dash for the back door when the throbbing in his head seemed to push a thought into his brain. A metal box. A metal box fixed to the front of the chimney breast. He stepped back to the fireplace and looked at the framed poster that hung above it. Now, if you look up here, children, again, you'll see there's a mirror there on that picture. Now, imagine a picture right above that chimney breast. There must be something behind it. The photograph of Great Uncle Tony seemed to stare at him. Stuart gripped the bottom of the frame with one hand and lifted it up. There, behind the picture, was the closed door of a small safe fixed into the chimney, firmly cemented in place. It had a little wheel on the front with the numbers 1 to 29 printed around it, and beneath the wheel were the words, "The Mini Hercules Home Safe, manufactured by Horten's Miraculous Mechanisms." Stuart had seen safe-cracking done in films. He turned the wheel, first clockwise, then anti-clockwise, then clockwise again. Nothing happened. No clicks, no clacks, no hidden springs. And he knew from films that nothing would happen unless he had exactly the right 3-number combination. He was just about to have another go when he heard footsteps coming back down the stairs, and he hastily lowered the pitcher and ran for the kitchen. The back door was still open, so he galloped out and across the back garden, using the junk stepping stones that he'd first used only a week ago. As he vaulted from the old cooker over the fence and into the neighbour's compost heap, someone shouted, "Oi, you!" But by that time, Stuart knew he was safe. It wasn't until he reached his bicycle that he realised that he'd left his great-uncle's back door key sticking out of the lock. And it wasn't until he arrived home and saw April Kingley looking out of the upstairs window of her house, the sun flashing off her glasses, and then saw her mouth drop open with shock, that he realised that he wasn't looking quite the same as when he left the house. The bathroom mirror confirmed it. He was completely coated with soot, and it took half an hour and most of his mother's fruit and herb explosion shower gel before he was acceptably clean again. "That's a pleasant odour, if a trifle pungent," said his father over a late breakfast. "Quince and tarragon?" "Strawberry and mint," said Stuart between mouthfuls of cereal. "Dad, say you were a safe cracker and there was a safe with the numbers 1 to 29 on the dial and you didn't know the right combination. How long would it take you to try all of them?" "Problem in probability," said his father. Mathematical conundrums would be more your mother's area, I feel, but I seem to remember from my hours in the classroom that the number of combinations would be 29 to the power of 3. "So that's 29 times 29 times 29, said Stuart. There was a pause while he fetched a calculator and tapped in the sum. 24,389 possible combinations, he said, horrified. Trying them all would be impossible, even if he actually managed to get back into the house again. Now, his next task was obviously to find the correct 3 numbers, somehow. His father crunched a piece of toast. "Do you have any plans for the matutinal hours?" he asked, by which, of course, I mean of or related to or occurring in the morning. Stuart nodded. "Yes, I have. I'm going to—" His voice tailed away as he looked at his dad. His father had such a nice face, never suspicious, never angry, never more than presently puzzled. And Stuart was beginning to feel really bad about how many lies he'd told him over the last few days. On the other hand, if he said, "Yes, I have, I'm going to meet the blind sister of your missing uncle's fiancée in a bingo hall," it wouldn't sound remotely believable. "I'm going to go on another bike ride," he said. So the next thing he's going to do is go back. I would imagine he's going to go right back to the house. Or is he? Or is he going to go right back to the house? We'll have to find out tomorrow. Ooh. Another clue. What's this? It's Teeny Tiny's hat. I haven't seen Teeny Tiny for a bit. I wonder where where's that noise coming from? There's nothing over there. Nothing over there. Go. What about what we got up here? Oh no. She's got him in the crusher now.